Jai Hind children, welcome back to biology video class. Today we are going to study the factors affecting photosynthesis. There are lots of factors that affect photosynthesis. First one is light. Light is a major factor that affects photosynthesis. There is a linear relationship between incident light and carbon dioxide fixation rate at low light intensities. At a higher light intensity, the photosynthetic rate does not show further increase. Therefore, light is rarely a limiting factor. Light saturation occurs at 10% of full sunlight. Increase in the incident light beyond a point causes the breakdown of chlorophyll and a decrease in photosynthesis. The second factor is carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is the major limiting factor for photosynthesis. The concentration of carbon dioxide is very low in the atmosphere, that is between 0.03 and 0.04%. Increase in concentration up to 0.05% can cause an increase in carbon dioxide fixation rate. Beyond this, the level can become damaging over longer periods. The C3 and C4 plants respond differently to carbon dioxide concentration. C4 plant saturation occurs at 360 concentration, but in the case of C3 it occurs at 450. Therefore, in the case of C3 plants, this carbon dioxide is a limiting factor. Third factor is temperature. The dark reaction being enzymatic are temperature controlled. Light reaction are also temperature sensitive. They are affected to a much lesser extent. The C4 plants respond to higher temperature and show higher rate of photosynthesis, while C3 plants have a much lower temperature optimum. The temperature optimum for photosynthesis of different plants also depends on the habitat where they are adapted to. Next comes water. Water is also one of the major factors that affecting photosynthesis, mainly in the light reaction. Splitting up of water can be seen in light reaction and that provide hydrogen as well as electron. The water stress causes stomata to close, hence reducing the carbon dioxide availability. Besides, water stress also makes the leaves wilt, thus reducing the surface area of the leaves and their metabolic activity as well. Next, we are going to study another chapter, that is respiration in higher plants. Respiration. What do you mean by respiration? It is the breakdown of complex organic compounds through oxidation within the cells and that leading to the release of energy. This process is called a respiration. So this is a process of release of energy by the breakdown of complex organic compounds. These organic compounds will undergo breakdown, usually with the help of oxygen to release energy, and this process is called a respiration. Where this process occurs? Respiration takes place in two compartments. They are cytoplasm and mitochondria. The general equation of respiration, C6H12O6. This is carbohydrate which will undergo oxidation that release 6CO2 plus 6H2O and energy. So this is a equation that representing respiration. What are respiratory substrates? So here we can see carbohydrate is the respiratory substrate. So the compound that are oxidized during respiration are known as respiratory substrate. Usually it is carbohydrate. In some cases the respiratory substrate may be proteins and fats. There are mainly two types of respiration occurs. They are aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. The word is indicating what is aerobic respiration and what is anaerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration, the respiration occurs in the presence of oxygen. So that respiration is called aerobic respiration, while in the case of anaerobic respiration, that respiration occurs in the absence of oxygen. So this is called anaerobic respiration. The equation of aerobic respiration that is given here. Here C6H12O6, this is the respiratory substrate that combines with the oxygen. In the presence of lots of enzyme, it converted to 6CO2 plus 6H2O plus energy. While in the case of anaerobic respiration, here the respiratory substrate, carbohydrate, that undergo respiration in the absence of oxygen, and that leads to a formation of 2CO2 plus 2C2H5OH, that is ethyl alcohol, and the energy. Here the energy which is formed in anaerobic respiration is less than that of the energy which is formed in aerobic respiration. And here the end product is ethyl alcohol, and here the end products are carbon dioxide, water, and energy. Then here both aerobic and anaerobic respiration, glycolysis is the first step. So glycolysis is the common step that can be seen both in aerobic respiration as well as anaerobic respiration. Next we are going to study glycolysis. This is otherwise called EMP pathway. Why it is called EMP pathway? Because it was discovered by three German scientists. They are Gustav Emden, Otto Meyerhof, and J. Parnas. Emden, Meyerhof, Parnas. EMP. So the pathway is otherwise called EMP pathway. Glycolysis, the meaning is here the glucose is splitting. Glucose converted to 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. So this process is called glycolysis, otherwise called EMP pathway. So glycolysis is the common step that can be seen in both aerobic and anaerobic mode of respiration, and it takes place in cytoplasm. In glycolysis, the glucose, which is the respiratory substrate, glucose is converted to 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. Next, the different steps of glycolysis. Through a series of steps, glucose is converted to 2 molecules of pyruvic acid. So a series of steps can be seen there. And what are the intermediate compounds that can be seen during this step? First of all, glucose. 1 molecule of glucose is here, and this glucose, which is a 6-carbon compound. First of all, glucose converted to another 6-carbon compound. Its name is glucose 6-phosphate. So glucose converted to glucose 6-phosphate, both of them 6-carbon, and here 1 molecule of energy, ATP, is utilized. So when ATP is utilizing, ADP will get back. After the formation of glucose 6-phosphate, it converted to fructose 6-phosphate. Fructose 6-phosphate also a 6-carbon compound. So glucose converted to glucose 6-phosphate, then it converted to fructose 6-phosphate. Fructose 6-phosphate again converted to fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. At that time also 1 molecule of ATP is utilized, then ADP will get back. Fructose 1,6-bisphosphate also a 6-carbon compound. Fructose 6-phosphate converted to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. And this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is a 3-carbon compound because fructose 1,6-bisphosphate converted to 2 compounds, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate. That is also a 3-carbon compound. This dihydroxyacetone phosphate after some time again converted back to glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate next converted to 1,3-bisphosphoglyceric acid. So this is also a 3-carbon compound. So from here onwards we can see all the molecules are 3-carbon. So glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate converted to 1,3-bisphosphoglyceric acid. At that time 1 molecule of NADH2 is released. So here we can see the formation of energy, but on the first step and also on the third step energy is utilizing. So here and here ATP is utilizing, but from here onwards we can see the release of energy. 1,3-bisphosphoglyceric acid converted to 3-phosphoglyceric acid. Again 1 molecule of ATP is released. Here ADP is combining with the inorganic phosphate. At that time it becomes ATP. So 1,3-bisphosphoglyceric acid during the formation of 3-phosphoglyceric acid, 1 molecule of ATP is released. And here we can see that here also it is represented as 2 into. That means from here also we can see this step will occurs once more. So from 1 molecule of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, 1,3-bisphosphoglyceric acid is formed. Again dihydroxyacetone phosphate again converted to another molecule of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. That means from here onwards the step will repeat once more. So here we can see total 2 molecules are produced here. This 3-phosphoglyceric acid converted to 2-phosphoglyceric acid. 2-phosphoglyceric acid converted to phosphoenol pyruvic acid, where we can see 1 molecule of water is released. Then phosphoenol pyruvic acid converted to pyruvic acid. At that time also 1 molecule of ATP is released. How many energies are utilized or how many ATPs are utilized for doing this step? For doing glycolysis, here we can see the utilization of ATP, and also on the third step also ATP is utilized. So total 2 ATPs are utilized during one step of glycolysis. And where we can see the release of energy, here we can see 1 molecule of NADH2 is releasing. Here also when 1,3-bisphosphoglyceric acid converted to 3-phosphoglyceric acid, ATP is releasing. And on the last step, that is phosphoenol pyruvic acid converted to pyruvic acid, there also 1 ATP is releasing. So during the formation or during this glycolysis, here we can see 1 NADH2 and 2 ATPs are produced. And we have already mentioned that from here onwards this step will repeat once more. So total 2 NADH2 and 2 plus 2, that means 4 ATPs are released. 4 ATP and 2 NADH2 are released during one step of glycolysis. So here comes the energy which is utilized during one step of glycolysis. So during one glycolysis 2 ATPs are utilized. And how many ATP or how many energy are synthesized? Direct ATP 4 ATPs are synthesized and 2 NADH2 are also synthesized. 1 NADH2 is equal to 3 ATP. So altogether 2 NADH2 will gain 6 ATP. So from the NADH2 6 ATP and directly ATP 4 ATPs are released. So altogether 10 ATPs are synthesized. 2 ATPs are utilized. So the net gain of energy after glycolysis is 10 minus 2, which is equal to 8 ATP.